Cloud. Okay, let's see. We're going to go live here on Facebook. Our custom live streaming. Which one should I do here? Custom live stream. Oh, I can't tell what's what. Oh. Well, we got 2 more minutes. Oh, what is this? Nope, that's not what I want. I don't know what that is. I'm on Facebook.
Right
I
now.
gotta log in. Oh my goodness. What is the password?
Hello.
Hello there, Ron. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very, very
Let's
good.
see. I'm very casual tonight. I apologize. I was trying to put on my button-down shirt, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to make it.
Well, we'll just keep you right there. You're fine. That's hilarious.
And then I'm not exposing my shorts either, so.
Oh, well, now you've told us.
Let's just say, imagine Brooks Brothers slacks. How about that?
Yeah, likewise over here as well. Oh my goodness. I am trying to get this to go to Facebook, and of course.
Is my audio okay? Because I have a fan on in the background.
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. We don't even hear
okay,
awesome.
At all. Thank you.
I hear it, but it's not bad.
Oh,
no, I hear everything.
She's got bionic ears, so she hears everything. Oh, guys, I am struggling with my Facebook integration here.
Oh, yeah. If not, we can always repost it there, so it's not a
okay. I think we may have to do just that because I am. What did I just do? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, yeah, because we are timed. It is 7:30, 7:31. Well, listen, welcome. I see we have a couple of attendees still coming in. We'll just give them a little bit more time. And while you guys are coming in, drop in the chat where you're from. Welcome tonight for tonight's blockchain chat with our guests. Yes, with Johanna Magum.
Maggle, yeah.
Maggle?
Yeah. Like rhymes with haggle, think of it that.
Maggle, I'm sorry, absolutely. Hello, Bronx and Tennessee. Hello, Alexandria. Welcome. Well, listen, we are going to respect everybody's time because this is a hot time, back to school time, and this conversation for tonight should be very interesting. Let me just say who I am. I am Dr. Keisha Waddell, Executive Director of the Center for Blockchain Studies, one of the BBC members, Black Blockchain Consultant member as well. And I'm here with my awesome team. We have a couple of long-standing BBC members who are in the house. Oh, and I see Cherie's even tuned in. Very nice. All right, you guys can introduce yourselves.
You said ladies first. It's Alicia.
I'm Talisha Shine. I'm the Vice President of Blockchain Consortium International and also an Inner Circle member. And we are delighted to have you here, Joanna. And this conversation is definitely timely. And I think our audience will really appreciate your insights.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, Cherie here, founder of Black Blockchain Consultants. We are all about the business of blockchain here, and part of the business of blockchain is the certifications and the education process and people moving from academia to being hired. So I'm very excited to be here as well to hear what you guys are doing in the industry.
Great. Great.
And then we got Eric.
Yes, Eric Spence, President of Blockchain Consortium International, also an Inner Circle member. Titan tokenization. So Johanna, I have been looking forward to this. Anything tokenization catches my ears and I dial 100% in, completely focused. I'm looking forward to this.
All right.
Yes, yes. And Ron?
Hi, I'm Ron Lyles. I'm a strategic development partner with Metaverse on Quest Solutions, Inc. And Metaverse is an XR technology platform. And we are huge advocates for XR technology, which includes VR and AR, and even more excited with how that can integrate with blockchain. So I'm happy to be here tonight.
Absolutely. And then you've got a visitor here, Joanna.
I guess we do. I think
Jeff.
Jeff, yeah, Jeff, I'm not sure if he's participating or you can say
There he
hello.
is.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Jeff Slavin. I'm the Senior Product Specialist with Odom, and I wear multiple hats. I do everything from quality assurance, biz dev, customer service, and so on.
All right. Okay. Well, listen, again, we are really glad to have you. Johanna, we really wanted to just jump right in and talk about how, blockchain is changing education. Here in the States, we are really switching over to this online learning. And I know just this week, I just started back to work myself. I'm actually a teacher of over 25 years, 27 years in special education and the public school sector. And I always am talking about to my students and the teachers as well about where we're going in education, how we really have got to prepare our students for what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And largely what's next is at this point and behind COVID is the shift in education in terms of the whole system, how things are at this point, how we have to be lifelong learners and really future ready our students. So thinking about the whole, education sector, how is Odom and what problems are you guys solving with Odom, which is the on-demand education marketplace?
Yes. Thanks, Keisha. Well, that's a great lead in and a great set of questions. And just want to thank you guys all for having me here today also.
Sure.
So I want to back up a bit and kind of bring a couple of observations into the story. First of all, this virus, this pandemic has as you've said, has kind of accelerated some things that were happening a little slower. It's forced the hand of, schools now having to get online, which is or was not Odom's primary focus, but it's something that we are now stepping up to offer because, our platform can do all that. But I want to talk for a minute about this idea of blockchain, which I'm loving the fact that so many people in education are now starting to get curious and learning about what it is. And I like to think of blockchain as the difference between a kind of centralized data world and a blockchain world is the difference between the major arteries in the body and the minor and the veins that run around in the body. And why I say that is because even with education, there's been obviously, I don't know what the word I'll say, privilege, or certain people having access to the best education, okay, which to me are like those major arteries in the body, where the flow of like who gets to do what is, there's more energy and money and resources put into that. And what I feel like blockchain now allows us to do is to equalize that and to get energy, financial support, and resources into those smaller veins and to places where before it couldn't reach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what I'm learning is that we are starting to see that blockchain, and for people who are listening who don't understand blockchain or want like the 30-second description of it, it's basically a decentralized database that everyone has a copy of and everyone can share and nobody is the master of. So what that means for credentialing and education is where previously like think of your educational credentials like currency, okay? And think of the bank where you need to get your currency verified, or, you know, where you need to get it from, move it to another bank. Those two banks have to agree that's a thing. And same thing with credentials for schools, right? If you're moving your high school diploma to a college that is considering you for enrollment, it's really between that high school and that college to verify who you are, right? Now with the blockchain, we can say, you know what, I'm going to give you, the student, those records. You run with them. You go wherever you want. If you end up going to community college and then to a four-year college, you can consolidate all of those components of your academic experience, not to mention your professional experience, into basically a digital wallet, where now you are in control of your records, your accomplishments, and giving you personal currency in education, which I think opens up a lot of doors for a lot of people. That's my,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that makes it very clear. And, you know, and even more than just, you know, going from, you know, your credentials between, you know, going from like high school to college kind of thing. I see that I'm a special education teacher where there's like much paperwork that has to be verified. And there's a lot of, you know, we overdo work, we redo stuff because we don't trust one district even between another. And we're talking about education in its global sense, you know, people who are around the world. Now we see that online education is available to everybody, and really education needs to be a lot more modular. And so I'm excited about a future where, like you mentioned, where your credentials can follow you, and credentials from wherever, you know, not just, you know, established institutions, but, you know, maybe some online courses that I've taken or a workshop over here, you know, all those kinds of things build your portfolio of skill sets and abilities and whatnot like that. And that's what I'm really excited about for the future of that credentialing, being able to follow a person. But you know, bigger than just the individual little, well, I should say little, but the credentials. The other disconnect that exists is just really being able to prepare students or learners for what's next. And so there needs to be a connection between the employers and the, you know, the and the schools and the like. And talking about blockchain, how do you guys navigate that space?
Well, I think first of all, Keisha, you bring up a really good point that this is not just credentials from academic experiences, right? You can have, you know, stuff, a separate online training course or professional credentials, continuing education. You could have an apprenticeship or an internship, or so how, I think what you're asking is, how do we make that connection then to work, right? Taking that academic experience and becoming career ready with that. Yes. And one of the things that I have learned only in the last month, I would say more and more getting exposed to having these conversations with academic officers and chancellors of schools, is that if you're a student in a place where there's not a lot of opportunity, how are you going to find a pathway to meaningful work? And what I'm learning is that it's a lot about the community, the network of employers there, creating a pathway for you, the student, that makes sense, where you might not have even known that there is an opportunity for you there. You know, we're talking to a school right now about creating a program on Odom for what's called a health navigator. And that's a really amazing idea because, and it can be all done online. And you know, you go into a hospital today and there's so much complexity to bringing in a new patient. What do they need? I mean, this is all just before you get to the place of how do you deal with their insurance at the very end of the story, right? So imagine this opportunity in our country right now as healthcare gets very complex, even amidst this pandemic, to take somebody in like 11th grade and say, hey, you know, here's a career path for you. you can get on board with this. There are these hospitals in the area are hiring. Now we can connect you with that student before you graduate, before you leave with this paper diploma. Let's see how we can make that happen using blockchain and sharing credentials so that the student now has an incentive not to maybe drop out of high school or not go to college or drop out of college, because they can see a clear path to a career for themselves.
Sure, my goodness, absolutely. And let's talk about how blockchain also is worked in your ecosystem for the actual teachers. We talked about the learners, you know, to the teacher kind of scenario, or the learner to the workplace. But yeah, how does that work with you all? What hand it out? Yeah.
So for teachers, I think that I only know that I've been keeping a close ear lately on the Houston Independent School District this week, and watching some news come out of, you know, they just happen to be a district that I'm kind of following, and I've been noticing things like, you know, they're having trouble with their website, or parents. I mean, there's a lot of confusion, and there's also a lot of like genuine effort to execute and make things happen the right way. And I think for teachers, there needs to be more continuity and more flexibility at the same time. And so giving teachers the ability to have, I think, more visibility into their students, like you're saying, as a special needs teacher, I'm sure you get a student who might have been somewhere else a year ago or 2 years ago. So if your students can bring that digital wallet, that digital portfolio with them to your class, you have a better pathway and guideposts of how to teach them. So you're not sort of left in the dark with information about that student. I mean, we haven't at Odom really gotten too deep into learning modalities in the sense of like online, in person, et cetera. But what special needs does that individual student have? How well do they learn? And I'm imagining a world where they can start to compile that data, you know, about themselves. You know, their teachers from early on can help contribute to that, so that that student has a much more holistic sort of dossier, even at a young age, for teachers to be able to respond to.
You're talking about like data analytics, basically, then on a granular level, that follows them, you know, so it gives them up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also learning that, I mean, I would love to hear from your perspective on this too, but particularly right in this moment, it seems like there is a need to turn, to be flexible in how we teach, right? Like, so can I, you know, maybe you can show up 2 days a week, or your students are showing up 2 days a week, or maybe certain educators need to be home right now. And so a system that allows for that flexibility, where it can be, you know, a la carte almost, depending on the unique situation. Because I think that's part of the challenge right now that teachers are facing, is they're feeling so paralyzed with, if I go in, I have risks. If I stay home, I might lose traction. You know, there's different challenges, and really what we want to be able to do is provide something that allows for that full flexibility.
And you're saying that's what Odom is doing with their platform?
Well, yeah, that's what Odom is doing as almost, I would say, a byproduct of all the other work we've done with the blockchain. We've built on top of the blockchain, where blockchain is where we manage our certificates and we conduct certain transactions. But on top of that, we've built a full platform where you can go in and create a school online, add your courses, invite your teachers, and enroll your rosters of students, and then connect directly to your learning management system. So if you're using Canvas or Moodle or Blackboard, we can connect you right in, so that a student can come to Odom and they can actually participate in their coursework and you know, connect to Zoom if need be, or whatever that model is. And one of the things that's interesting from an IT perspective is that a lot of schools are kind of bolting on a bunch of different tools right now. And while that's good, you can't run a school like an office. You have different security and privacy requirements that you have to meet. You can see the debate going on right now about are parents or should parents have the right to be listening in on a course that's being conducted over Zoom with a student. And I hear the back and forth on that, and it seems it's a big topic, because you've got, on the one hand, the student has a right to their privacy, right? I've got a parent now who's got access to other students, but then on the same time, as a parent, I would probably want to know what's this experience my kid is having, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's probably more controversial in a Black family. I can only imagine my mother saying, what, are you kidding?
in what perspective? In what way?
Oh no, I mean, just kind of, like you have the helicopter parents,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
at least I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, and to tell my mother, oh, privacy issues and all of that, she would say, who's paying the bills in the house kind of thing. So, but I think what you're saying is, like, other students in the Zoom class need their privacy. It's not like that parent for that child, right?
Exactly. That's the conflict, right? I mean, you've got both sides kind of have value and have a valid point, that you want to be able to see what's going on with your kid having this whole different experience of education, but do you want your child to be being watched by some other child's parent, so then there's that other aspect to it. So I think just being aware and putting those issues on the table regarding security and privacy as we go through this this process that's so new for everybody.
It is really new. Well, let's think about blockchain with regard to, within your ecosystems. I know your ecosystem includes the learners, includes the employer, and includes the teacher. So in light of so many people becoming the teacher at home along with the teacher on Zoom, I think that kind of presents an opportunity, because your platform and what blockchain is allowing is peer-to-peer education, because you don't have to worry about, if you're someone who has like an expertise in something, you can get on your platform and teach whomever, connect those two people together, the learner with the expertise. Is that not the case in your situation?
That is. Can I share my screen for a second? Share a slide.
That'd be great. Okay. Absolutely.
Let's do that.
Absolutely.
So this is sometimes the easiest way to present this. So this is what we call the Odom Trust Network. And if you can imagine, sort of the key 4 things we do are, we offer this platform for education. We issue digital certificates. We take those digital certificates and make them valuable by using machine learning to skill code them, which means, you have skills as a user. Courses are tagged with skills that you're going to learn. An employer has skills that they need for a job. So that's the third thing. And the final thing is, we bring these participants together in this trust network or marketplace. So the idea is, and if you can imagine kind of the wheel here, that you are joining the Odom network as a user or a student, and a school will come online and invite their students and even their alumni to come and claim these digital certificates. And then once the student does that, they can start to really fill in that profile about themselves and say who they are, not just like what have they already accomplished, but what are their aspirations, right? What would they like to do in their life? What are the skills they'd like to learn? And then coupled with what we're learning more and more are getting the employers engaged to say, hey, we've got a huge need in our community for, health navigators, right? Like we were just talking about. Let's get those health navigator jobs on Odom so that students can have that light bulb of, oh, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. I could do that. I have a little interest in that, and I have some skill. And then what we do is finally help you fill that skill gap by identifying it and saying, okay, you as a user, do you need this extra course? There's a huge opportunity right now in this whole model that we're all building for dual enrollment. So if you're in high school, partnering with your community college to actually take those courses, not just AP courses, but maybe college credits to get you into a job that, that you could do either out of high school or a year or two of schooling out of high school. And then finally, this kind of quadrant here is about I would say, creating new purposes for existing educators, right? Because now we see educators can become tutors and mentors and coaches, and they can also offer services to other schools who now can come on the platform and say, you know what, we need an English as a second language program, because we're finding going online that we can now offer this globally, where we were offering it only locally before. So there's a lot of opportunity to work together in this network, and it's the blockchain enablement that, kind of the trust part of it, where we know we can trust people who are in the network.
Okay, and
Question for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With regard to this is interesting. What do you think the impact from a short-term as well as a long-term perspective on curriculum, since you have the ability now to basically vet a skill set based upon an employer need? Yeah. Some of the arbitrary and what I consider just antiquated curriculum that you have to take all these courses, which you don't really need to really take those because they really don't assess to anything. How do you think that in a short-term as well as a long-term perspective will help the curriculum to be more and more customized to what employers actually like? And therefore, again, that changes their job description, because now you don't really need a master's. That's a wish list item for them, but they always put it into their job description. But now you have coursework that shows that the comparison is viable and that you are a true candidate for the job.
Yeah, I think what's going to start happening, and I think it already is happening, is I think we're going to see a shortening of the life cycle of industry influencing education. And it's already happening, but it's going to happen at a more and more rapid rate. So industry can come in and say, there's a very interesting company in Memphis called Indigo AG, and they have a special way of wrapping seeds in a microbiome that makes them more durable for storms and droughts and so forth. And they're actually training farmers on how to use their seed and grow it and understand the different requirements now with the soil. And so they've actually partnered with the Community College Network in Tennessee to create courses just for this company, like how to foster more farmers who can use this seed, and salespeople too. So we're seeing that with industry influencing / being engaged with education, we create more real jobs for people, right? And again, back to this idea that if I'm a student and I can see this educational experience not just for something in itself, but leading to a real job, that's how I think that's going to happen. And it's already happening. And the thing that's going to be interesting in the next year is what happens to four-year colleges. Community colleges, to me, are very well positioned right now because they already play this role, right?
Yeah.
But four-year colleges are going to be, they're going to have to pivot and make some changes, because the more and more companies, you've heard Google and IBM, a lot of big companies are saying they don't really care about four-year degrees as much as they care about the skills that people have coming in.
What about trade schools, plumbing, electrical, things like that? Will that still be very hands-on?
I think that's going to be hands-on. I think what we're seeing is we're working with community colleges right now in Arizona, and we're learning that we're having to maybe dismantle and put back together some of these programs, trade especially, like manufacturing. And so kind of parsing out the part of the learning that can be done online, and then creating the clinical or hands-on work, like in centers where it can be done, or at hospitals, working locally. So that's going to be really interesting to watch that get reconfigured, because I do think you still need to have a lot of those trades, the hands-on experience, but I think they'll start localizing that piece of it and keeping the rest of it online and more accessible without the geographic, tether.
Yeah, because that's one thing. I mean, from what I understand, the economic shifts, a lot of there were for a while a lot of kids moving out of the trades, yet now there's starting to be a shift again to people really pushing the trades and the trade schools becoming full again,
Yeah.
especially with like first generation immigrant kids.
Yeah.
This is my understanding.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, sure. I think that that's right on. I think that's what we're seeing too, is the demand for trades, plumbers, electricians, contract work, manufacturing, those jobs are in high demand. And so now maybe there's going to be a really great opportunity for more young people to as you're saying, even first generation or just kids in places that don't have a lot of economic opportunity to get access to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's kind of get back to some more blockchain particular stuff, like this whole tokenization piece for the education sector.
Yeah.
How will that work within Odom's ecosystem?
Okay, so let me give you a couple of examples of how the tokenization works, because this is a great topic. And when you create a token, by the way, which we did back in 2018. One of the big questions that people press you on is, why are you creating your own token? Like, why not just use Ethereum, or why not just use Bitcoin, or why do you even need cryptocurrency at all? And one of the things that fiat currency doesn't do so well is our micropayments, right? And so one of the things that we're doing at Odom is we are actually creating a revenue share with students and institutions who issue those certificates. So like if you have your certificate viewed on our system by 100 employers over the course of a month, we want to revenue share that data viewing back with you, because you own that record. You should be entitled to a financial reward for the sharing of your own data. And so our token allows us to do that micropayment, component of that. Another example of it, tokenization and use with Odom, is something we call program staking, which is basically like making a deposit for a program. And as we see more schools experimenting with online courses and trying to gauge the market, interest in something, you could say, I have this course in health navigating, and I need 50 students to show up for the school to make it financially viable. So students could actually stake a little bit of tokens in there to say, okay, then once it hits that 50 student threshold, then everybody is locked in, and then the course can go forward. So those are two examples in our system of how we use the token that we think is unique, and that we have some control over the programming of the token and the financial modeling of it that way.
Interesting. So you're incentivizing the use and viewing of your credentials. That is unique. And then the other incentivizing is incentivizing the actual course creation based on the demand. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly, like crowdsourcing a course, but giving the educator an incentive to do it and try it without feeling like they're going to be at risk if it doesn't happen. So yeah,
almost a pre-sale idea, almost like in marketing.
Exactly.
That is amazing. And then let's talk about smart contracts. How does that work in the scheme of this teacher and employer and learner ecosystem?
So I have a great example of this that I don't know if we're all ready for yet, but I'm going to use it.
Oh, let's go. Let's challenge us.
So
you might be surprised.
Well, one of the big conversations right now is like, for let's say a student, let's say that in some future a student can get tax credit to be homeschooled or go to a different school in their district or wherever they want. The way a smart contract could work is that, and they do this in Singapore, by the way. In Singapore, every citizen of Singapore gets equivalent of $500 a year to continue their education, their life. And so, but one thing they do is they don't pay that money out to you as a student in your student role unless you complete that course. And so what a smart contract can do is it can say, okay, here's money that's allocated for this student, but they actually have to use it. And so once they use it, we can lock the money in the contract, and then certain conditions have to happen in order for it to get actually released to them. So the smart contract is really a way to move resources, to move money, and to make it accessible and available at the time when somebody executes certain or completes certain tasks. And the same thing can be said for philanthropic donations, right? If somebody is donating to a district or to a school, but they've made a pledge to do certain things with that money, the money can be put in the contract and then released when those things occur. So I think like with smart contracts, that's a nice thing. There's the transparency, but there's also accountability in seeing how they're used and what they're used for.
And do you also use the smart contracts even more in a granular situation between the teacher and the student kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you set up a course right now and then we haven't completely turned this function on yet, but like if in certain countries, like in Philippines, for example, I think 75% of people don't have bank accounts. So if they can use a token or some other form of currency, and they can buy a course, and then that those tokens would sit inside that contract until the teacher completes the course. Maybe it's even like a 1 day, a small course or a weekend course or something. And then once everybody is completed and they issue those certificates, that money can then be allocated to the educator.
So I've always been curious about the tokens, how you start off with your tokens, like in your system. Do you just kind of get a set when you sign up a little bit? Like how do you get aboard this train with your tokens?
Yeah. To me, it's a great question. And when I've been a big blockchain fan since like 2014, but this in 2017, stepping into the kind of task of creating tokens and building this company was a daunting thing for sure. It's because I like to think of it as going into the financial space shuttle into outer space, doing something that, you're just kind of figuring it out as you learning everything you need to learn as you go. But basically, you're building, in our case, we used Ethereum, and Ethereum has a set of tools that allow you to create what's called an ERC20 token, which means it's basically like a token on top of Ethereum. It uses all of Ethereum's technology, but then the token has its own unique properties and its own unique value. So that the advantage to that is that you can program the token to do things that you maybe don't want to just be on whatever Ethereum's doing or whatever Ethereum's value is, but you can control more of how you use the token yourself. It's a lot to take in and understand, but I think the thing with currency in general is it only has value if people believe in it. And so when you create a token like this, you have to obviously make use cases for it that are useful. And without that, there's not a lot of success with this stuff happening.
Right.
So, and I also just want to add one thing. I know a lot of people think of cryptocurrency as like this thing that people speculate on and trade and so forth. And it's only been a few years, like since 2017, that so many companies have started actually building these models. I mean, for example, you can go to Coinbase now and create a Coinbase account, and you can get rewarded in tokens for learning about that token. You can take a course and receive some token for it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so that's what I was kind of wondering. So like to start off in your system, is that kind of how it is? If you take a course, you earn some tokens, and then
we're getting there. We're just going to be this fall rolling out the actual use of the token, which is really exciting, and that will be one of the things. And then think about it again, like if you're like in a community and you need to teach something, right? Like let's say you're a school and you need to teach certain, you want to teach all your educators about online privacy and security. And
Okay.
so as a way to do that, maybe you incentivize them by saying, listen, if you finish this course, you get X tokens, and then those tokens can be used to come back and take other courses. Or maybe for your students, like you can use those to take extracurricular courses. If you take this security and privacy course on online education. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I follow you. I follow now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And well, we're always talking about, mass adoption and this whole idea of the democratization of education. I think we probably are a little bit more sensitive to its need now, but, what challenges are you guys facing and presently still in light of this? It's probably a little, I would imagine, a little bit easier sailed now in light of COVID situation and so much, going on in the world everywhere.
Yeah.
And the need for the reskilling of so many different people and in light of this new fourth industrial revolution, and so many different predictions of job loss behind, AI and automation. I know, again, I live in Michigan, actually in the Detroit area, where we have a lot of, manufacturing, automotive manufacturing. And I am really concerned about folks who aren't watching and seeing what's coming next, but just to kind of go back to the question though, what challenges are you guys really having to overcome with that, and what have you found success in?
I think the biggest challenge is, I can say just being on this call with all of you today is really exciting and refreshing, because you guys, people are starting to wake up to this thing called blockchain and its power, and that even 6 months ago or 9 months ago wasn't the case. I think back to our beginning of our conversation, I think the situation with the pandemic has accelerated that, but it's still about getting people to realize the importance of interconnectivity, this decentralization and democratizing, but also getting back to that analogy of the tiny veins and getting blood flow into places like Detroit, right, where it's needed most. And now maybe this is the blessing, is that we have this online education that can go anywhere and to anyone. Of course, I don't want to just minimize the fact that the big issue in this country right now with students is, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's very high. Students who don't have broadband at home, Wi-Fi, and they don't have devices. So even if we get this education spread out online, we need to make sure we get those folks, in the game. That's a big concern. So.
Yeah. So you really bring up a serious point there, and I've always been interested in why that's so difficult sometimes, because particularly with industry realizing that for the masses to take advantage of all their products and whatnot, it just seemed like it should be something that we can just give, and certainly now that behind COVID, it's really identified where that give needs to happen. So I think that's been one positive thing too out of it. I know just even in our own district, there was, we were able to identify some gaps and whatnot that we apparently did not know existed. So yeah.
It's like somebody came in with a giant flashlight, right?
Yeah, right. Big time.
What's going on?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
I have a question, Johanna.
Sure.
Now, this is an excellent use case for tokenization. And I love tokenization too, because once you make it something like this, programmable and digital, and you mentioned flexibility, and it just opens up so many other possibilities in worlds and uses that you previously couldn't do. And one of the things that I love, and I wanted to throw this out if you consider this, but self-directed learning is just so powerful. Whenever I have a wall of books behind me, and we know whenever we speak to anyone, ever I'm talking to anyone, whether they're a fellow employee or an employer or anyone, when you start talking to them and finding out some of the self-directed learning experiences that they're doing, whether the books that they're reading, the podcasts that they're listening to, and that sort of thing, is there any way for it to incorporate that into the credentials, even for the students or for even, for employees, to add it to their digital profiles?
I think I kind of like to think of that as like crowd credentialing, in that we and you guys being in education, I'm sure have a pulse on this, that the credentialing itself is kind of ripe for disruption, right? I mean,
I was just about to say.
yeah, and so now micro education is going to become more and more important. If I can learn something in a YouTube video or a podcast or on an audio book, can I get credit for that? In my school, right, as an experience or and then if I put that on the blockchain and other people can see that me as an author or as a coach or whatever it is, whoever's teaching that, whatever modality, they can now be recognized, not just from like likes and stars and hey, he was funny, but actual data showing that person used that learning experience to actually get a job. And
Yes.
now the employer can come back, and because again, we're all on the blockchain, and say, you know what, that educator did a really great job teaching that micro course on that podcast, and I can testify that this person I hired and learned from them has demonstrated the skills that they were teaching. So I think it's a great point, Eric.
Yeah, I think that it also really works well with internal education for companies.
Exactly.
My company specifically has a lot of, you take these courses that are internet based or that they have, and they're really resourcing that from external resources. They're really finding other things, and so that could be a great way to capture that as a program offered by the company internally to see exactly what their own employees are doing. How are they keeping their skills set up to date? And again, the token works very well in that environment because again, you're not trying to incentivize them to do anything outside. You're looking for them to truly bring that internally to the organization for value. And that's where the token could be programmed from a value-based state.
Exactly. And that whole idea of like workforce discovery is what you're talking about, being able to look inside at your own employees and help them create this digital portfolio for themselves so they can so that the company can better understand, do I need to even go outside? I bet I have people right here that I can upskill and get them motivated to move into other positions.
Yeah, the internal resourcing is a huge thing right now for companies, specifically having to shift within COVID. Now trying to see how to leverage their own employees for multiplicity of things within the organization and truly finding out people's skill set rather than just assigning them arbitrarily to this is your task. Now you can, I think, utilize them much better and leverage your own employees much, much more succinctly.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, listen, we actually have a couple of questions here. Here is a question in the Q&A. It says, I'm an avid investor. What are your plans for scaling or scaling your token, being on an exchange or exchanges? And also, do you plan to do any burning of tokens or do you have any competition?
Oh, wow. Good. All good questions. Okay, start. We're scaling, definitely scaling. Not to jinx ourselves, but we're scaling probably faster than we can keep up with right now. We're getting so much interest from a lot from community colleges and other schools, not just in the U.S. but globally in Europe. We're working with a couple of schools in Switzerland that we're really excited about, and in Asia, there's a great interest in now that people aren't physically moving. How can they still tap into the education where they like to get it from? So we definitely are scaling very, very quickly, and our scaling is about not just bringing on students, but bringing on alumni from those schools that come on our platform, and now getting them re-engaged for lifelong learning through their alma maters, or getting them ready and upskilled for better employment. So that's happening very rapidly. In terms of listings, we're currently listed on Bitfinex, which is unfortunately not a US based platform anywhere else in the world, pretty much. You can use it, but not here. And several other exchanges, which I think you can go to our website. Yeah, Jeff, maybe you can post that on the chat thread somewhere, where that support link of the exchanges we're on. And then finally, the third question was, are we planning on burning tokens? Not at this time. We have a finite number of tokens. No more will be created. But we are excited to start really using those tokens in the way that they were designed to be used on our platform. And so, yeah.
Good question. Thank you, Richard. Let's see. Well, what's next for Odom? What's on the agenda that we can watch out for?
So here's what I would be watching out for is we're going to see a lot of schools that currently are just serving their internal communities turn their courses to the outside world. And we're really excited about Odom bringing those programs, like community college programs, be making more of them available for high schoolers, or for basically for anyone, or people in other countries even, where we're going to see more cross-pollination of education. And the other thing is the building blocks of taking your different experiences and putting them into a portfolio, where you can really thread or string together your academic experiences in a way that gives you credit for them. And back to Eric's question, like, even smaller modular types of microeducation, we're really excited to see more of that, and having schools start to recognize those and integrate them into their accredited curriculum.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in all things that will transform education, particularly public education, because like you mentioned, there are a lot of specialty type of schools that are doing these innovative things, but it's the masses of people who really could benefit from a modular education that puts them right where they need to be, because they're connected with the workplace and the influence of the workplace. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of say, I mean, I would love to see this with your platform. My oldest son, he's in college. He'll be starting his junior year. He's taking this semester off, but he eventually wants to be a computer hardware specialist. Well, he's going to start this weekend. He'll be building his 4th computer. Okay, now this is completely on his own. I don't get involved in it at all. Like, I don't even know what's even going on back there. So I don't even, that's it. But he researches all the parts and everything, and that's it. And next thing I know, I just walk in and the room is lit up with all of this stuff going on. And and then it'd be interesting to see that being credentialed to the point where an employer could take that, see that, and go, okay, that's it, you're hired. Kid,
Well, and there's a lot of going on in our company is actually founded in Switzerland, and Switzerland is very famous for its apprenticeship programs. And if you go to college, or if you go to high school in Switzerland and you're not really set up to go to a 4-year kind of liberal arts or academic situation, the Swiss make sure that everybody has a path, and that path will be an apprenticeship where you go right from high school into working in your field and getting a credential for that. And like what your son is doing is really interesting, because Purdue, for example, is doing an apprenticeship program with employers where you can start in their apprenticeship program as a cybersecurity expert, and you can be hired right away, and then Purdue will train you through that whole process. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and I bet your son's already really talented, and he probably just needs to lock on a few more courses and things to get that job that he wants. And so that's the kind of pathway where we want to make sure that somebody like your son would have. It's like, okay, here's my dream job. Here's what I already do. Let me check all those boxes so an employer knows I have those skills, and let me see where I can go and find those other courses to fill that gap.
That'd be fantastic. I know I'm on the opposite side. I have a rising senior who is a game designer and plays and is an affiliate of Twitch right now, who gets paid to stream and play. So again, filling in the gap, seeing, and I think that is the part of seeing the pathway, because right now those things aren't really tangible for students most of the time. They just know they have requisite skill sets that they have to take and classes that they have to fill. But to really put that together and say, this is the path to a career in this field, even not even just trying to get you to one-to-one, just opening to one-to-many. I think that would be wonderful. And again, I'm doing that right now for her, but I'm thinking it would be great to send her to a platform and say, here, this is where you go. And then you could see the plethora of things that are available to you. Because again, I'm just myopically looking at, okay, these little things, this is what I found in my research, where I think you have a full scope. That is an amazing thing to have for a student.
Yeah, I agree. And again, like back to what I'm learning is that if I were 18 today or 20 and I didn't know what I was doing, I guess I would want to know what my options are. What's the reality of things I can do for a job and make a living at?
Yeah, Google doesn't help you if you don't know what you don't know. I think that's
right.
We always say, oh, just go to Google. Well, you don't know what to type.
Correct.
I'm saying it's like, what do you type? It's like, I want to what? And that's the whole point. You do need to have some type of something to guide you, not to make it myopic for you, but definitely to give you some purview of what is available to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I've taken this first week to just tell my students how fortunate they are that they have a future thinking, teacher, because that's exactly what I do for them. I've just talked with many of them just today about, how many of them are actually just consuming content, or are they producing any of the content? Are they actual makers? In which case, like we've just been talking about, those are skill sets. I try to get them to see that, while that's fun, that's actually a skill set that can transfer.
That's right.
So, we keep talking about those kind of things. I see we got one more question here. Looks like, is this from your husband?
Uh-oh. Might be.
Richard. It says, question for Joanna. What's it like working at Odom and in the blockchain world as a woman? I recognize that name.
Yeah,
Nice plug, husband.
I like to think, this is my little interpretation. I think blockchain is a very female thing. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not really,
female, huh? Okay.
not really hierarchical, right? I mean, blockchain is not a hierarchical thing. And I think women do really well when they are in connection mode. I think that's one of our strengths. And so I think it's a natural fit for women to work in blockchain. That's my little interpretation. Not to exclude men, but I think it particularly has a spark to it, for me anyway, of this idea of the possibilities of inclusion, which are just, go beyond women. They go to everyone who's been subjected to some kind of marginalization in some way, or lack of opportunity. And so I think that blockchain is really special in that way. And I think working at Odom has been an amazing experience. We have a team of people who have come from all different walks of life and who are all singularly passionate about education and changing, as we say, making education more affordable, accessible, transferable, and affordable for everybody. So.
Yes. That's so funny with you saying that. I'm seeing blockchain with the little bow on its head now.
There you go.
I love it. I absolutely agree with you. We are definitely collaborative, and that's exactly where there's a blockchain fit, is where there are multiple players needing the same information that you can make now actionable, because we're sharing information and being able to do different things with it. Yes. Well, I didn't have any other questions unless there were any more in our chat. I did want to.
Richard said he wants to know your social media and marketing plans.
Oh, I missed one. Okay.
Oh, our social media marketing plans. I think we're trying to keep it real, keep it organic, and just keep, sharing what if you notice on our social media, we try to share any courses that are coming up that are new, and exciting. And you know what? We love engagement. So if people have ideas for us about how we can improve what we're doing or things they'd like to see on Odom that they don't, I think that the in a perfect world, social media is interactive. It's not just selling. So I think that's probably our mission and vision is to keep our social media as engaging as possible. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Telegram also. And so anywhere you see us and you have questions, come and ask. And if you want to sign up and be an educator, if you want to, like Eric, teach that 1 hour course, right? Something that you're good at that you think the world might benefit from learning, we really encourage people to do that. So
Great.
Awesome. Excellent. We love to hear that here at the Black Blockchain Consultants, because that's what we're about, is the business of blockchain and using our expertise, and to have yet another platform by which to present that to the world is tremendous.
well, and Keisha, I would imagine a hot topic, tell me your thoughts, is special needs education with being online is probably a whole different thing, right? There's probably a lot of nuances to that and things to share. That to me itself would be a great course on Odom,
Yes, I think I've signed up as a education service provider already.
All right. All right. We'll watch for your course.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, let's see, were there any more questions? Am I missing anything in the chat? I think we're right at our hour. This has been really good. I thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for coming, Joanna.
I appreciate it. This is our back to school special. I was really hoping we had a lot of educators on here to ask some different questions who might have been curious about how the two things put together. Maybe you've answered everything very, very succinctly. So thank you again for joining us. And I guess that's it.
And feel free to, any questions, come back to LinkedIn and find me, and I'm happy to answer them. So
that's
Thank you so
wonderful.
very much.
Thank you so much, guys. All right, thanks everybody for your time tonight. And again, we have at our website at blockchainstudies.tech, if you have interest in learning about Blockchain 101 or joining Black Blockchain Consultants, where we talk about these kinds of things all the time, this is the place to be. Thanks so much for your time. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.